If you think AI will fix your problems, it will not. So AI doesn't fix bad foundation. Marketing only works when it matches business reality and truth. So if your product is weak and it's not good, do whatever you want in marketing. It will just give you painkillers, but it will not solve your growth.
Welcome to AI Marketing Pioneers, where we bring you insights from the leading minds in AI marketing. Today, we're exploring what's next for AI in marketing with our awesome guest, Mustafa. He's one of my favorites. He's based in Dubai right now. But this is going to be an awesome conversation around where AI is really headed in marketing. And just to give you a little bit more about Mustafa's background, he's the former head of growth marketing for Amazon devices across EMEA and a 3-time startup exit veteran. Mustafa's journey is very unique and impressive. He co-founded Crowd Analyzer, actually the first Arabic social listening tool using natural language processing, which is amazing, and was part of the founding teams at 3 successful exits and scaled Uber's rider and driver acquisition across the Middle East and Africa region, and managed more than 4 million in monthly budgets, driving more than 40% month-over-month growth for Amazon across 15 plus countries. This is a really rare opportunity for us to sit with someone with this impressive background and achievements in such an amazing background. So I'm really excited to get this started today. And without further ado, let me welcome Mustafa. Welcome, Mustafa. Good to see you here. Very excited for this chat today.
Thank you, Sajin, and thank you so much for having me today in this wonderful podcast. Again, thank you for the intro. As they say in Amazon, it's day one. And for majority of us, with the rapid change happening today, what happened. It's history. Now we are here today. And I think this is what motivates us every day. We wake up every day, we're trying to understand how can we solve all these complex problems and the challenges that we face on a daily basis. Again, I'm still like everyone. I'm still, putting my hat to it on a day-to-day basis, trying to figure out and understand what are the problems that we can tackle from a business point of view. Also, if you're managing a team, how can you make sure the team you're managing is also you're enrich them and empower them with the right direction, right tools. But it's super excited to be honest. I mean, what we're living today is very exciting. It reminds me, like in my early career when digital was moving very slowly, and offline was TV, print media was conquering 90% of the budgets. And when digital came, there was a shock in management and marketing where, oh, but will digital work? Can you acquire customers? And this what actually gives me the goosebumps today. Like, it is replicating, but in a completely different scenario that no one knows what will happen. But we are certain that this will benefit us all as marketeers for sure.
Yeah, totally. And which is the reason why when we first got connected, we immediately hit it up, talking about all things marketing, all things AI. I think we almost chatted for more than an hour during our first chat, and I knew that and you're pretty much basically like in the same width as we do here. So that's really exciting. Maybe the first question I'll ask you today is just based on your journey so far. Maybe like what's one marketing lesson that worked at every stage? Maybe you can share a little bit more about your experience and background along the way. But I'm curious to hear from your words, like all the way from the early days of career, and how you scaled the Uber's operations in the region, and then your startups, and then Amazon for the past almost like 7 years, which is awesome. So curious to hear your perspective there.
Absolutely. So let me just let me give you a bit of my background really quickly. So when I was 16 years old and I was going to college in mass communication, PR, and advertising, I got the opportunity to work after my college hours from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. in a call center, and I was working for a company in the United States from Egypt, where I was born, to sell Google advertising, paid search to small to mid-sized businesses. So I want you to imagine that picture. I was a 16 years old guy going to my college, reading something in college that's completely doesn't reflect the reality of what's happening in the future. So I was literally going and read and listen to doctors and professors about what's working in PR, what's working in advertising, and how marketing is worked before. And then I'd go at night, have a discussions with small to mid-sized business owners, try to tell them benefits of Google paid search and how this will change and get you customers. And from that moment, that changed my entire life, because I decided, you know what, this is where I want to focus. This is the future. And as you know, there was no any materials online, nothing. You have to learn it the hard way. You have to go through this. You have to learn from doing, by executing, basically. And then I got the opportunity to join one of the daily deals. As you know, in 2011, that was the hype of Groupon. It was everywhere, one of the biggest companies in the world, preparing for IPO, and they were preparing to come to Egypt. But then the Egyptian revolution happened in 2011, and the co-founders who were preparing for it, they decided, you know what, we will just open our own. And at that time, they invited me to be part of that, founding team. Again, moving forward, I was someone who understood how online works, but have absolutely no clue how to execute acquisition campaigns. I remember one of the early discussions I had with the Google office back then in Egypt. They were trying to convince me to buy based on impressions, not just clicks or user funnel or, which is, again, that's why I'm reflecting the same era to what we have today. And that's why I'm super excited about what's happening. And then moving forward, this company was acquired. 2 years down the line, it was one of the biggest success in the Egypt startups ecosystem. And then joined Dubizzle, where it's basically the Craigslist for Dubai, one of the most successful, but they wanted to acquire more market share. They want to expand across the region. And that was a bit different, because in that stage, you would be looking at, now we understand performance marketing, we understand customer acquisition, but we still cracking retention, we still cracking A/B testing, optimization, revenues, and also how can we build dashboards that can tell the reality of what's happening. And fast forward to that, Uber, when I joined, it was the time in 2015 where they just landed in the region. They want to expand. They want to acquire a lot of customers, especially riders and drivers. And when you look at it, at this specific time, Uber was massive growth. It was built on how can we. There are playbooks, and it was one of the most data-driven company I ever seen in my entire life back at this time. They were focused a lot on data. They can measure everything before they even launch in a specific market, and they can make and adjust a lot of decisions based on what changed in that market real time. And that's what made Uber completely different than any startup in the world. But again, at this time, I also need to match the reality and educate the teams with me that performance marketing and user acquisition is the key to growth, not the the ordinary marketing channels, the partnerships. If we want to scale fast, we have to build machines that scales and help us to replicate these machines across different countries in the region. And then after that, crowd analyzer. And as you mentioned, this is where when we were building an AI product in 2018, where AI as a word was not used back in this time, and we were trying to understand what is the best way to build an NPL and AI that can serve us. So we were trying to build brand watch, specialized in the Arabic language, for the region to help enterprises understand the Arabic language and dialects across all the social media. The majority of the big brands and big companies in the US, they could not give proper insights specifically in Arabic language. And I think it was also, a massive success, and it was acquired a year and a half ago by a Saudi entity. And then moving to Amazon and Amazon Devices in particular, which was a startup operating inside Amazon. How can you take that and how can you launch brands like Ring, for example, Ring doorbells and security cameras in the region, and not just one of the regions, it's the most safest country in the whole world, which is UAE or Saudi. They have no security problems. They have other problems that we need to figure out as marketeers, and we need to find out how can we fix that together. So in a nutshell, that was the whole journey. And you asked me a very great question. I wanna get back to that question, which is, what is the marketing lesson? Uh, to be honest, it is the same thing over and over again, whether you're a startup or an enterprise. Marketing only works when it matches business reality and truth. So if your product is weak and it's not good, do whatever you want in marketing, it will just give you painkillers, but it will not solve your growth. It will not enable your word of mouth, because at the end of the day, word of mouth is everything inside any business. That's the one channel that you want to keep your eyes on, organic or word of mouth or whatever you want to call it in your organization. If you're not growing in that area, then something you're doing is not correct. Again, you can increase supply, you can do whatever you do, but if you don't match this with demand, it will fail. So if you don't build the right data in place, it will lead you to make the wrong decision. And wrong decisions is something you really want to avoid, especially, if you are an aggressive growth scale up, like not startup, you're now aggressively scale into different markets, or you are enterprise, try to aggressively scale into other markets as well. Both are the same. It's just different in, I would say, different world and operation and process. Let's put it this way. So again, marketing only works when it matches business reality. If it's not matching business reality, whatever you're doing isn't. It is art, it's not marketing.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. It's actually really interesting because one thing that I've been reminding myself of the biggest sort of takeaway from like one of my best mentors in marketing is like all about persuasion, but it can only do so much as to what you have already built, and it's all about actually communicating the true value of the product, and you can't always come up with something that's completely not real, like from the actual product standpoint. So I think that's really interesting. I'm curious, maybe going back to your Uber days, like I'm sure you leveraged a bunch of different growth marketing tactics using paid acquisition and different channels across both sides of the marketplace. Like, I'm curious, like from those days back in Uber, was there any sort of particular insight that you had around how you leverage data and how you potentially leverage like more sort of a quantitative approach in paid acquisition that wasn't particularly sort of intuitive at first?
Again, Uber was a completely different place, and I appreciate my days there, because Uber is where the era I was introduced to predictive analytics. Whatever we were doing at Uber, we have to predict what will happen in the future, and we have to align what will happen not just the next day, but the next weeks and the next months as well. So we were predicting not just the driver growth, but rider growth. What are the relationship between them? If you're launching in a new market versus if you are mature in another market, how can you map this with the news? Because as you know, there was a lot of regulatories that was happening, and you have to be prepared as a marketeer. What should I do? You cannot run just a campaign, and there's a driver strike out there. So also you have to move very fast. But again, there is one thing I can remember, and what is the biggest lesson I learned from Uber is, how can you predict the future? You don't need to predict 100%, but you need to have something in place, again, based on really accurate data, not 100% accurate, but let's say 70%, 65%, that can help you to make an educated decision about what channels should you spend at, what channels should you push, what channels should you test, what channels should you stop. And during that era, there was no AI. You would have to, and even automation was not there. I mean, it was more of, how can you utilize the right resources, build as much as you can, dashboards as much as you can, which is, in my days, I remember, Looker dashboards, as much as we can per market, per channel, so we can have this A/B testing, conversion optimization. We can also choose different narrative in terms of the dialects or creative and culture. And if I talk specifically, this is area I think we should deep dive into it later on. Is how MEA region is completely different than any other region in the world. Because yes, everyone thinks, oh, they are all speak Arabic, for example, but every single country is different. Every single city inside that country is different. So localization and personalization actually is key for growth in MEA.
No, that totally makes sense. Do you think the latest technologies, especially AI, do you think that's meaningfully helping the challenge of localization, especially in areas where the cultural context is so subtle and nuanced across every single country? For my first job, like by the way, I spent quite a bit of time in EMEA and also like South America as well. So I know how complex and challenging it is to actually make it work, especially when you are in a global organization where you have to deal with layers and layers of decision making and global parameters. So I'm curious. Are you seeing any like meaningful improvements in localization efforts with AI? If so, like where do you see the practical application right now?
Look, I mean, at this stage, and I think also in the future, human element with AI is what will make it successful. Uh, you cannot run AI completely right now to run a localization job. It will not happen. However, if you look at AI in general, and for you to lean towards AI, you need to make sure that AI is giving you the right signals that they are moving into the right direction. And these signals are the data. Let's take localization because it's a very important piece. Inside, for example, let's take the MIA market and let's take Saudi. Saudi is one of the biggest markets in MIA, and everyone, especially in the US companies, they dream if they want to come to MIA, they want to go to Saudi first and UAE. These are the biggest markets they want to tackle. Inside Saudi, for example, you have Riyadh, the capital, you have Jeddah, you have Dammam. These are completely different cities and different regions, and you will need to jump on a flight or drive 10 hours to move between these cities. And they kind of use different Arabic dialects. Yes, they speak Arabic, but the dialects are different, and the culture even sometimes are a bit different. So how can AI understand this today? Is by the human guidance. Later on, when we put enough data for AI to understand that, it will be easier maybe few years from now, or maybe a few weeks, or maybe a few months. I don't know. Like we're moving for it very fast here. But the human element is very important, and this human element should have the experience. When you have experience, you can leverage AI in ways that can help you. For example, what it takes me to localize a market, which is maybe a few months, now it can happen in a few weeks, and it can happen very quickly without the same headcount that we used to depend on. But maybe this headcount will be shifted towards different resources, for example. So, as I mentioned to you, more localization, more personalization. We don't spend just more time into translating and localizing across all channels and product. Now, if we can do this better, what else can we do better in the marketing funnel? And that's how AI can improve drastically the journey today for marketeers, especially when it comes to localization.
Got it. That's super interesting. Um, I know, especially within the context of international marketing, localization across every single dimension of marketing campaign execution is critical. Like it coming up from the actual brief of the campaign strategy, and then the actual creative concept, the copy, every single thing that you use, and of course the creative you generate and the execution media buying itself as well. So I'm curious, maybe based on the latest experience that you had at Amazon, because you spent quite a bit of time there most recently. uh, I'm wondering whether there was any particular insight that you had around how to best run it, especially post GPT, I would say, because I think everything has changed so much.
No, 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 absolutely. Let me first talk about something very important about this experience, and I think this will also ring a bell to a lot of organization in the US. The trying to expand here. Not all playbooks works, and 90% of them will not work in me. And let me give you just a small example. One of my mandates when I came to Amazon is I need to build the Ring brand from the ground up, from the scratch in the Mia world. Just to give some context to everyone, in Dubai, you can literally leave your car running in the middle of the street, not in the middle, but you park the car on the side, and you would be walking to a shop, spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes there. It's running because there's an AC inside, and no one will come near your car. No one will touch it. You can go to you can be in a restaurant and leave your mobile on the table and go to the washroom and come back, and it would be on the table. Now, this is the kind of audience you're dealing with. You cannot get security as a message as is in the US and put it here. Something has to change. And this is where the experience with these markets as a marketeer comes in place, and start educating enterprises about the best approach we should have to these, markets. And it was not security, it was more a peace of mind. Because the devices help us to understand, to be in control, and help us to understand what's happening around our home, especially with our busy lives, especially if you have nanny in place, if you have a gardener, if you have services, if you have people moving, if you're traveling and something is happening inside your place, like a leakage or AC is very important, because if you are traveling in the summer, sometimes you would need to turn on your AC, or you might face some mold, in your house. So all these reshape your messaging and how you tackle this market. And when you start shaping the messaging, you start working on the key messaging as you are working on something completely new. That's why it's a startup inside an organization. And then you start taking this and look at localization. Can I use some of the existing assets? Most probably not. Can I reuse some of the existing assets? And I was lucky enough when that happened. I remember a year and a half back, actually last year, during that time, we were doing a photo shoot. It was a massive photo shoot, lifestyle images, product images, etc., in Saudi. And then we used that photo shoot to release the first AI testing full ad from these images for a travel campaign. And it was not, the photo shoot was not, when we first did it, it was not to serve that purpose. It was to serve having the right assets in place to do that. So I was lucky enough to test this, and we run it, and it was a very successful campaign in the last summer. And to be honest, the quality was really amazing. But again, I was lucky enough to prepare for that, with a photo shoot in place, with the right assets in place. And that's what I'm trying to explain. Like, if AI will reach a point where if you know that you need these assets as a marketeer, you will be able to generate them. And I still believe using artists are essential. You as a marketeer, yes, you can leverage that, but you need this artistic help. Someone will guide you with your prompt. Someone will tell you, oh, you need this camera with that angle to do this and this and this and this and this. So it will help us to do things fast, but you still that need kind of experience to make sure your work is authentic, realistic, and looks good.
Got it. No, that's really interesting. Maybe coming back to the actual application of AI, I think you touched on something really interesting around how you experimented with AI in the actual campaign planning and execution phase. I'm curious, across the sort of a typical sort of campaign activation phase, like coming up with the actual creatives and then the actual media buying and optimization of the campaigns. Like, where do you think AI is at right now? And like, where do you see the biggest improvements that need to be made? I have a lot of thoughts here, given that I've been building in this space for the past few years. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts there.
Look, I mean, AI today, we did not reach the point where you can orchestrate, and build agents to help you with all the campaign elements, right? I mean, can you write a prompt to start a campaign from, the start point until the end point? I don't see that happening today. And I think you and I had this interesting conversation in Reach Lab, and I said, you are working on a big problem, and I support what you do because I feel the pain. I feel that pain. And what feel that pain more than me as a marketeer is the business owners, the small to mid-sized business owners that even don't have the experience. What should marketing look like? What the strategy looks like? So in today's world, AI is helping us with some journeys when it comes to campaign journey or customer journey, which can help you again with localization, translation, some of the designs, not all the designs, some of the video scenes, but not all the video scenes. Some of the I believe today AI play a major role in terms of the time it will take humans to reach and build data insights and dashboard. This is something that's already there and it's been there for a long time and it's improving drastically. Like you can now have a chat GPT experience like what you build in Rich Labs, where instead of me going through my dashboards and Excel sheets and Looker and no, I have a question in mind as a marketeer and I would go and ask it. And what's better than this is I can, optimize workflows on a specific campaigns and rules that I will even give these updates coming to my emails when I wake up, in the morning while I'm having my coffee. I can just read it and help that. But does it take actions today? I think still need the human to spot is these actions are the right actions or not. So human still decides what to do, and I think this will not change. Maybe for the current period, human element is still very important in that direction. And let me give you another direction as well. Is when you build a campaign and media buying. Let's take Mia for example, because it's a very interesting example. Saudi, for example, X as channel or Snapchat are widely used in Saudi. Like a lot of users, a lot of interactions, even governmental entities rely a lot on X, for example, for communication and external communication. And when you look, for example, in UAE market, you would see that Instagram is still one of the most leading channels. Of course, paid search is still there, and ChatGPT is getting there. And we know, all of us, we know AI, in terms of providing answers to customers, is one of the most important channels, and it's growing rapidly over there. How can you navigate all this complexity? And I think AI still did not reach there yet. However, it gave us a lot of tools that can help us to speed up the process. But is there is one platform can tackle the whole journey from A to Z? I don't know. If you know, let me know, because this will help me a lot in my work.
Yeah, I mean that's the big vision that we have as a company here at Enrich Labs. But it's like you said, it's an amazing technology that we're building here. But also at the same time, there's so much complexity that you have to solve from the actual human workflows, making sure it actually delivers. So I think we're learning quite a ton as we continue this journey too. Another question that comes to my mind as we speak is like one thing that's just like I call it almost like $1 billion question, or even $1 trillion question is
Wow.
attribution.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no,
Is
attribution.
attribution.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
industry, right? So
Yeah.
I'm curious how you like how did you think about attribution in all the sort of big budget campaigns that you ran across all the awesome brands and products that you worked on, including your own startups as well. Um, um, One, was there any particular approach that you found to be particularly helpful? Two, is AI actually making things any easier or maybe harder? I'm curious.
Okay. Look, I mean, let's be honest. Attribution improved, right? It is improved, but it is not perfect. It is not perfect, and so many startups, so many big entities try to work on that. It's still broken, and let me tell you why it's broken. Because at this level, now we're discussing online, which is, again, there are some systems to build that attribution, but the physical world when it comes to marketing still exists, right? The billboards, it's a big industry, still exists. The radio still exists, and now we're shifting towards podcasts. But I mean people still listen to radios, people still go outside to different markets. So local marketing channels still exist. How can you attribute this with online so we can have the right insights? I feel we improved, but that's why I'm excited about AI and physical world measurement, where
Mhm.
imagine an AI and physical world, and if you have now the right devices and right, let's say, cameras or sensors in place that can provide you with all these analysis, and they can map all this data for you to give you the right answers. So if we talk about online, and if your business is purely about online acquisition like the tech industry, you're lucky, because there are other industries, and again, retail, they are still dependent a lot on offline. So attribution improved, and I think it will keep on improving. And I think it depends on industry to industry. What is your attribution window? What are the kind of insights you would be looking at? What are the kind of, how did you build your database? And B2B are completely different than B2C, because the attribution in B2C, it all based on customer conversions, and how long it take for a customer to convert. In some B2C industries, it can take minutes, seconds, hours, days. In B2B, it can take months and months. And how can you attribute this into, if you don't have, again, the right data channels, that these data channels are built right to give you the right insight, then you will be making the wrong decisions on your investment. And when you make the wrong investment decisions, this will not help your business goals. So it's improving, but I don't think it's perfect at the moment.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, and um, One thing that also comes to my mind, as we talk about it, is like how is AI practically changing the day to day of a growth marketer, whether you're working at a startup or a major enterprise like Amazon, or Uber. I'm curious, like what's been your latest experience with AI in your day to day operation? Like practically, like how did you go about the actual application of AI? Like, I hear so many different things from different industries, different regions around how they're playing around with like all the latest sort of automation tools, including NAN. From like on the other hand, like they're like, oh, like we absolutely don't use anything other than ChatGPT. So I'm curious how you actually approached it.
Again, there are different models out there. We have Gemini, which exceeding everyone in terms of image quality and video quality, and then we have Claude, which great at complex thinking. Like again, as a growth marketeer, sometimes you need to dive into a lot of data, and you need to use that kind of logic to find faster reporting, faster answers, faster insights. So I believe each one of the AI models today can help with a certain aspect of the business. I love Gemini a lot because it helped me with that realization, and it can it can help me immediately to visualize something that when I go speak with designer, I don't just saying some guess words. I can actually show him what I need. But can this be the final product that I can use? Depends on your stage. In a startup world, yes, I will rely on AI today, and I will use this to test. But in a big enterprise, no, because you have brand lines, you have guidelines, you have compliance, you have legal, you have regularity, you have so many things that you need to be following to make sure that your output is not just creative, but also it doesn't cause a big impact on the organization. Let's put it this way. So AI today can give you better budget control because it gives you this fast reporting, fast insights, fast response. You can actually automate things. And I remember back to your point with enriched wraps, when we first talked and you told me you can connect your ads and then you can write the campaigns and you can deploy. And I was like, man, are you sure this is like dream for any marketeer? Because I just need to hire, for example, one growth marketeer very good at this, and they can use this to scale all my campaigns, and it can improve down the line. Now, improving targeting in CRM, I think AI and CRM now goes hand in hand, because I want you to imagine this for a second. What Clay did to the industry is phenomenal. I'm a big fan and a huge fan of Clay, And I know that maybe a lot of audience in our region is still not familiar with Clay, but what Clay did is actually it can enrich your leads in a way that can provide your sales team with very powerful insights that they will sound like a McKinsey consultants when they speak with the customers from the first meeting. And until today, I don't see any tool or any organization start mapping this link about AI and enrichment to the leads that come into the funnel. The same goes to AI and personalization for B2C and tech industries. So if you are acquiring customers and your app is your product, what kind of personalization that you can show aggressively, and what is your learning algorithms that whenever I open the app, your WhatsApp messages to me, if it's enabled, your notification, your emails will be super personalized, that I will be super scared that you might have enabled microphone in my home. But actually it's helpful because if you're showing me what do I need as a person, I will actually convert and I will rely more on you because you are lowering the fraction of my lifetime, cycle of searching online for what I need to what I actually need. So I will keep coming back to you. And I think this is start to improve and there is drastic improvement, but is it really give us the right quality that we need? I think it will in the next few months, not few years. I can see it happening. So AI works best when people, set clear limits to it. Like you take AI, you put it on a very specific channel, very specific task, you keep improve it with a lot of data, then it excels because it works in a small environment. The biggest challenge today, again, in as a growth marketeer, is a fully automatic strategy. Can I just chat with AI to deploy that journey across all these small tasks? I think today this area is broken, and this is what we need to fix as marketeers to even empower the new generations how they should think differently in terms of execution. Now you don't put your time in execution. Your time as a marketeer, you put it into creativity and what's different. Because I believe what will happen next is everyone is using ChatGPT to generate content. Everyone is using Gemini to create a perfect, AI design. How can you compete in that world? Means that you don't just need to raise the bar. You need to be completely unique, different, authentic, or else everything will look the same. So this is where I see the competition coming is everything will look super good, that we need to find new ways to grab attention, because at the end of the day, marketing is attention. If I don't get your attention, I don't acquire you. I don't convert you. And I believe this is one of the biggest things that challenge that we will face as marketeer is how can I grab the attention of my customers in this very, very busy world today.
That's a really good insight. Something we've been chatting a lot internally as well on what it what it means for marketing or even social or anything we see on a day to day basis with more and more AI content comes out with higher quality every single week. So that's really interesting. Would you say that's going to be the most important skill that the new generation of marketers would need to acquire? Or is there anything else that you'd call out as the most important skill set that they need in this new era?
It's a very hard to tell. I mean, in this world, everything changed super fast, especially today with AI. You sleep and then you wake up and there's a new tool that was launched, like a new browser that will control, your computer, and they will do your work while you sleep. But I believe we as human creativity, we will always own that part. This is what actually differentiate humans from machines. The creative side, the creative mind, everything we have built through history. I'm from Egypt, and I saw the pyramids, and pyramids was built not using. Of course, no one knows how it was built, but we know as Egyptians that there was creativity. Someone imagined this in their brains, in their mind, and then they started building this. And this applied to everything we do. Our motivation, the imagination that we have. I don't think AI will be able to replace that, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong, but I hope it doesn't, because it does. If it does, then something else, we're going to go into a completely different direction. But what I see is the creativity is the human mind. And this creativity, by the way, I'm not talking about the artistic side. I'm talking creativity in science, creativity in engineering, creativity in general. When you come up with, there is a problem and you need to solve that problem and you need to provide that solution. I believe we as a human, we will always have this ability, but AI will help us to accelerate this a lot. So we will be able to cure a lot of diseases. And instead of waiting for 100 years, we can do that in a few years. We will be able to build great architects and great buildings that environment friendly. And instead of waiting for a few years, it can happen very rapidly. Same goes for marketing, by the way. Same goes for content. Film industry today, look at the film industry. For you to produce a small animation or anything, it needs a lot of effort. And don't get me wrong, I know it needs a lot of effort and I have full respect for the industry. But imagine if someone came up with that idea and it's really nice, it's really good. Now they can go pitch it not on a script, they can show something actually to, to producers. So let's just have a closer look at it from a completely different perspective. From imagination to MVP, it's realistic today because of AI, and I really love that part. This is an amazing part. I'm glad that I live today to witness this, because now it's not about selling the dream. Now it's about showing you something, and we can have a discussion about it to improve it.
That's awesome. Um, and along that line of thinking, what do you think marketing will look like in the next 5 years, maybe? I mean, no one knows the right answer, and I can chat for hours about this topic. But I'm curious. Where do you see we're headed? Maybe like sort of like a primer to that question would be like, what's the penetration of AI in marketing as an industry right now, and as in percentage, and maybe like based on that we can extrapolate to what it's going to look like in the next 5 years or so.
It's really hard to imagine the world in the next 5 years. Uh, but as I mentioned to you, I think the execution part will be much less than we have today, and that's a beautiful thing, by the way. And I think what will happen is a lot of again, I have this theory which might be completely different about what's being told out there, but I believe we will have more human connections. I believe that instead of us spending a lot of time, looking at these Excel numbers, building the dashboards, the locals, the insights, no, these will be built by automations, by AI agents, and they will be doing that work. And then we as humans, we will have this meaningful connection that we can connect, and we can spend our time really brainstorming as we are walking down the park, or we are sitting together somewhere that we are trying to fix something, and we are not worried about these admin work that used to utilize a lot of our time and effort. And I believe we will get more time back to us as marketeers, because it's not about how many hours you spend in your work, it's about the impact that you do in your work and the meaningful impact you do in your work. So instead of spending 9 to 12 hours going through a lot of numbers, going through a lot of data, yes, you might spend 3 hours, but the rest of your hours, you will be more focused and have the time to really think about how can you improve something and make a good impact that no one ever did. And we only can achieve this through human communication. So I think in the future, marketeers will have to rely on their human communication skills, because they will be the biggest asset in any organization to bring that communication across all the you know uh, 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 the organization together to work towards the bigger goal. That's the way I see it.
Got it. Is it basically the marketers become the true champion of storytelling for your company and the brand, and then
100%.
basically put everything together? Yep.
100%, they will be the true storytellers. They will be what actually protect that brand, looking at this brand from different angles, the true customer voice, because they will be enabled with so many automations and tools and executions that they will be able to sit, breathe, and go through this in a more organized way.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Cool. I know we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to ask you a couple of last questions. Maybe the first one would be, um, What are you most excited about with AI in marketing today?
To be honest, this is a very good question, by the way. I will tell you what is my excitement today. It's exactly my excitement when I first start using Lovable as someone who doesn't know how to code. And now I can build, even there's a lot of debates in the industry about can you build this for scale? Can you build this to, I don't care. It's just me as a human. I can sit down and I can put my thoughts and ideas and I can see something. Is it perfect? No. This is what I see in AI today. It gives that ability to non-marketeers. If I want to create something, I can go easily and do it. And that's what I am exciting about, because we need to empower people to do more. And we as marketeers, if we can educate more people about marketing and they can understand marketing, our conversations will be a lot easier with business owners. You don't need to educate anymore. It's more about how can we think together as a team, as partners, and two brains is better than one. We can come up with something new that me as marketeer and you as business owner, you cannot get by yourself. So this is what actually excites me today is if someone comes to me today and tell me, oh, how can I do this? I will be sharing with them a tool and tell them, put your thoughts there, for example, write it down. And when you have something, let's discuss it. The ability that you can create and you can make, it gives hope. And hope is very important in humanity. We live and we build and we survive because we can see hope. That's what excites me.
No, that's awesome. I love it. Maybe the last question I'll ask along with that is any sort of like last piece of advice for any marketers tuning into the show around how they should be exploring AI and what they should be thinking about right now?
Look, I mean, there are three things I have top of mind, and I always tell everyone come, to consult me or ask me for anything. I tell them if you think AI will fix your problems, it will not. So AI doesn't fix bad foundation. Data is key. If start from data, make sure that you can track every single decision. You have the right data in place. It's set up correctly. Question data from time to time. Have sanity checks, sanity audits. Make sure your channels, whatever channels you have enabled, is not broken, and you can trust on data that you have. If you have the right data, AI can accelerate insights, but it cannot help you to make decisions. And this will let me jump to point number two. Humans are still responsible for results. If you did a bad campaign and there's bad results, you cannot blame AI at the end of the day. You can just learn from it and make sure that you don't do this next time when you run something, especially if you have an ABI testing and you're about to scale massively because you need to meet business objective and you need to acquire hundreds of thousands of users. So humans are still in control and they are responsible for results. And again, simple systems beat complex tools. Just build easy to understand systems that can give you the right outputs much, much better than to help all these complex systems that so hard to navigate and so hard to understand. So I always tell everyone, if we are not sure about what we're doing, let's go back to basics and let's get back to the blended cost per acquisition. And let's start from there. So let's see how efficient we are by just going there. And then we can start, working backwards, like how we say it in Amazon. That's it.
No, that's awesome. Awesome. I love it. And well, thanks again for getting on the show and sharing all the awesome insights here. Truly enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure all our listeners must have enjoyed the conversation. Well, this was Mustafa, and you can find them on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he will appreciate the connections and be more than happy to connect with all of you. But thanks again, Mustafa, and thanks everyone for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the show today, don't forget to like and follow or subscribe, whichever platform you are on. And stay tuned for our upcoming shows for more awesome marketing insights and AI insights as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to AI Marketing Pioneers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Stay tuned for the next episode where we bring you insights from the leading minds in AI marketing.